Hey guys, so I just wanted to get on here for a second and make another little video and just speak a little bit about like my experience, that I've kind of been going through right now and stuff like that. And like, I'm not saying that everybody's journey in addiction or recovery is the same. It's all different. I mean, there's functioning addicts, that have maintained lives and stuff like that while using, but I am not one of them. So I've been using drugs for almost all of my adult life. I mean, a lot of my, very young years. I started experimenting with things at a very young age. And obviously it just kind of like grew, festered up, and just became worse. It progressed. That's the right word. So, I just want to say that, like, for me, I've never really, like, been a productive member of society. Like, I've always, I've never even really held a job for a very long time. I mean, it's sad to say, but it is. And I'm 31 years old, and up to this last year, like, I have never really held a job or paid my bills and stuff like that. I kind of just like flew by the seat of my pants. There was like a short period of time where I worked for like almost a year, and I paid rent and some things like that and paid my phone bill and stuff like that. But I was still very young, and I was like, still using drugs. I wasn't like very, very bad off at that point, but I still was doing some things. So anyways, I'm saying all of that to say that like I sometimes feel like people who have not been in addiction, or maybe even people who have been in addiction, but they've always been able to like maintain their lives and their priorities and things like that, that they don't understand what it's like to be like how I was. Like I said, I know everybody's experience is different. And for me, I was just like, I had no sense of responsibility, no sense of self-discipline. I did whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. I would like work for a couple days, get some money and get on, or, whatever. Go, like if I needed something, I would freaking steal it or somehow hustle up the money to get it, or, whatever. So, like, I've been working on my recovery since June of 2015, and then I relapsed right before I would have hit my 15 months. And but in that time though, for like that year that I was out, like I did 4 months, and then I took my plea and I got out, and I did that program that I had mentioned before. And so for 6 months I was in that program. I had my son in there and everything, and it was a really good experience. But like I said, like even then I didn't have a job or anything like that. I had my baby. I was focused on being a mother, like to my daughter, rebuilding that relationship and stuff like that. But still, I did not have any sense of responsibility yet. So like, I had probation fees and stuff like that that needed to be paid, but I didn't have a job, and my fees kept getting waived because of me being in that program and stuff like that. So like I said, even in that year, like, yeah, like things started to change, obviously, even with my relapses. But however, I didn't work for that year, and then, I relapsed or whatever, and I ended up going to prison. So this, what I'm doing now, it's for me, from my personal experience, and also being, a recovering meth and heroin addict. One of my therapists one time, she told me, she was like, when I told her, what my DOC was, which at that point had become mostly meth. I mean, I was still doing the heroin and stuff like that, but it kind of switched. I mean, I would, stay up for 2 weeks. Like, I'm pretty sure I stayed up for like a month once. And I mean, those are long periods of time. So, like, coming out of that and stuff, it was like I slept all the time at first. It was really, just all my emotions hit me all at once. It was really overwhelming experience. So anyways, I'm saying all that to say, like, my therapist had told me, just how much, and I can't remember the exact number, so I'm not going to say it, but it was by, like, the thousands. Like, when you do certain things, it releases the dopamine and the endorphins and all that stuff in your brain times whatever is normal. So when I told her what my DOC was and she told me about that, she was like, told me how much, it released those things by, and she was like, you're never going to feel that way again. And I was just at that time still like, I didn't want to use, it wasn't, it was kind of like, I knew I didn't want to use anymore, but I still, like, that was when I started going through some things. And so anyways, like, at that time, it was just like, oh, like, wow. So this time when I've got out, like, yeah, I've switched jobs and stuff like that, but I've never been without one. And my job switches have been like, what, my spirit has led me to do as far as what is best for me, for my mental health and financially. Because even, being clean, I still struggle with depression and anxiety and stuff like that. And I mean, yeah, it's better now, and I take medication for it, which I really didn't even want to be on. But, I've tried to come off of it, and I see how much worse it is without it for me, as far as my depression goes, especially. So, but I still have bad days. Like, I still, some days it's all I can do just to make it through the day. I'm tired. Like, for me, this is still new. Like, yeah, I've been out for a year and stuff like that, but what I'm doing right now is an entirely different life than what I've ever, lived before. It's totally different. And not to mention, like, the first, I had that first clean time on the outside and stuff like that, but I didn't really have that much freedom. I mean, I did, but I didn't, because I was in that place for 6 months and stuff like that. And then whenever I started, like, branching out, and getting out a little more and stuff like that, obviously I ended up getting overwhelmed and making some bad decisions. But so, like, this is completely new for me. And, like, so I love my job. I love the people that I work with and stuff like that. It's a really physical job. And, we're out sometimes, which I feel like is normal. I mean, it's normal. But since, I'm not really, I guess it's because I'm not really used to living like this and doing these things. And I've also previously, like, being a meth addict, it's like, I'm still, like, like I said, I was in prison for 3 years. So, a lot of my first clean time was in there. And, I got, it helped me a lot. I learned a lot, and I started learning how to function and stuff like that. But then when you get out from being incarcerated, It's really overwhelming at first, obviously. So, never mind the fact that, like, that alone is overwhelming, and getting in the groove of working and things like that, and being a productive member of society, paying the things I need to pay, focusing on what's important, taking care of myself, and being there for my family and my children. Like, some days I still feel drained, and some days it takes everything I have just to push through. And I'm, like I said, I'm not really sure if it's just because it's not something, that I've been used to in my previous life or whatever. But it's a big deal for me. And like I said, I don't, some people I don't think understand it. And so, yeah, I know I definitely could be, doing better. I mean, we could always be doing better. But I guess for me right now, I'm just like trying to continue to push through. I mean, I still have vices, man. I can spend too much money on shit that I don't need. Whatever. I mean, that's really my biggest problem. Freaking energy drinks and stuff like that. But in my mind, it's like, and still, even with this clean time, like, I'm not going to say that I feel like any recovering addict feels this way. I don't sit and dwell on using and stuff like that. But there are times when I've been really exhausted where I'm like, oh, well, maybe I could just do it one time. The blessing in that is that now I know, there's no way, you know what I'm saying? And also, too, I personally am proud of myself. I'm proud of the direction that my life is going. Yeah, I'm not doing as great as I could be. I don't have a whole bunch of money saved up. I don't, have a house and stuff like that. I mean, I'm grateful to have the support and stuff that I do have to help me get on my feet. Yeah, I do still have a little bit of irresponsible tendencies. But for me, the things that I'm doing, it's a big deal for me. And like I said, I sometimes don't think people think about the way that, some addicts' minds work. And so it's like, I feel like, I'm 31 years old, but I'm just learning and doing things that I should have been doing at 16 or 17. So I just feel like I wish that there was a little bit more understanding and not so much pressure in certain situations, because one thing that I've learned is yeah, I've not took the best route. I'm not gonna say, I mean, I wish I would have made better decisions in my life, obviously, but I feel like the things that I've been through in my life have made me into who I am. And I'm not perfect, man. Nobody is. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like I'm a decent person now. I have a big heart and I'm understanding. I want to help people. I'm the least judgmental person that you will ever meet. If I can help somebody, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? And I just still feel like at 31 years old, I'm growing up. And I don't know if anybody else, I mean, I'm sure somebody somewhere feels this way. But it's I wish that people who have not experienced addiction or whatever, and I know that everyone means well. But I just feel like sometimes the approach could be a little bit better. Like, sometimes whenever, people are giving me, their criticism and stuff like that, I kind of like melt down. And that's my own things. Like I said, I'm not freaking perfect, dude. Like, I have things to work through, and I've had like a really bad week and stuff like that. And so I get overwhelmed, and I'm a very emotional person. Like, I can cry for me, or I can cry for someone I don't even know. Like, and I just feel like really proud of myself. And if you can't understand it, that's okay. But like, I need positive support in my life, and I'm sure it's the same for any other addict. I just wish there was more understanding in the world of how our minds work, and a little bit more respect for each other. I wish the world, everyone had, the wisdom and the understanding and the knowledge that it needed, or that they needed, like, kindness goes a long way. And like, you never know, just like I said, it's not always easy. Like, some days it's like I'm pushing forward, with everything I have. And, whether I'm depressed or not, like, I still do what I need to do. And that is different for me too. Like, I've always shut down. And so, like I said, I still have all these mental things going on, and then still pushing through and functioning. And so, like, used to, whenever when I was still on drugs and I, want to melt down, I turn into a recluse. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd be around, people or whatever, but I'd shut down, not talk, stuff like that. So, that's something else I'm working on too. Like, it's so much more than just like a financial journey. It's so much more than just like, staying clean. Like, we're learning how to cope and deal with things the best way we can, healthy manners, to, be successful. With being an addict comes a lot of things. And like, mental health is so important. And some people, I feel like, don't take the time to understand like the depths of how someone's mind is, or, have patience with people and how they, work. And that's what we need. I'm speaking for probably, any addict or most addicts and people that struggle with mental health issues. Like, sometimes we just need, I'm also working on understanding myself, like understanding other people, and not only seeing my perspective, which, that's all I've thought about for a really long time. But I wish people could meet in the middle and understand each other. I feel like a lot of things would get resolved if, people had more understanding. And so, I had a really bad day yesterday. Really, I've had a really bad week. And so, I just would like to say to anybody that's struggling right now with their recovery, like, dude, some days are hard. Like, some days you just want to give up because you're like, man, can I really do this? You might want to. I'm not saying everybody. So, like, please don't say or think that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that you never know. You never know. And, like, if you're getting up and you're doing your thing and you're pushing to, stay sober and do the next right thing, man, and somebody's inability to understand you or take the time to like hear you out, or you're so overwhelmed that, you can't, hear someone appropriately or whatever, I would just encourage that you just keep pushing forward. Like, nothing is worth your sobriety. Like, nothing is worth your life. No drug that you could ever do is worth your life. And you don't ever know when your last use might be. And it's like the one time like that you decide to relapse, like, you don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a reason that you're clean. There's a reason that you've kept pushing for as long as you have. And even if you relapse, man, you don't have to stay stuck in it. Like, you're worthy. No matter how anybody else makes you feel, no matter what anybody says to you, do not let anybody's lack of understanding sway you from the path that you are on. Because it will all pay off in the end, no matter how it pays off. As long as we're doing the next right thing, like, God is going to take care of you, period. I mean, or whatever you believe in, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to push my faith on anybody. I definitely encourage people to come to know, God, the spirit, universe, whatever you want to call it, that lives inside of all of us. And but everybody's journey is different, and I respect everybody else's journey. And I would just encourage you, if you're feeling like down right now, or like you're struggling to sometimes even get through the day, like, think of everything that you have worked so hard for. Like, think of everything that you've accomplished. No matter what anyone else thinks, you know you better than anybody else does. And sometimes even our mind can convince us that we're not doing good enough. I know, my inner critic is the worst. And it's kept me prisoner for most of my life, and I'm still trying to break out of that. Like, and, so when you already have that inner critic, and then you have somebody else that is on your back as well, or other people that are on you, it can be discouraging, and it can push you even more to make you want to give up and use. But I'm here to tell you that don't ever let what anyone else says to you, or anybody else's perspective of you or perception of you, change the track that you're on. Because nobody knows you like you know you, and like God knows you. And you are worthy of any good thing. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to have a good life. You deserve, anything good. Everybody does, man. No matter what you've done or whatever, like, we're all forgiven. We have to be freed from the stuff that, our past, and just keep pushing forward in the future. Like, don't let one moment of discouragement or anyone else's disappointment or disappointment in yourself lead you back down the same rabbit hole that you've worked so hard to come out of. And this is me speaking to myself as well. Probably mostly just me, because I don't even know if I'm going to share this like that. But I'm just saying, like, if you've made it one day sober, you're doing great. And don't let anybody tell you any different, because 1 second sometimes feels like 1,000 years, especially when you're first getting clean. And you just know that you're not alone. Encourage anybody to reach out to your communities, your friends, your sober friends, your family, whoever you need, the NA community, the AA community, whatever, your church, whatever is fitting for you, whatever makes you feel comforted and peace, that's what you need to reach out to. Because I promise you it's not going to be drugs. Maybe in that moment it seems like it might, but it won't. We both know it won't. It will lead you back down the same rugged, beaten path that you've been on, and the end result could be much, much worse than it was before. I don't know anybody's bottom. I don't know anybody's bottom but mine. And it gets worse every time. That's another thing I know. Every time it gets worse. And I don't want that for me. I don't want that for anybody else that is struggling in their recovery. I don't want it for anyone that's struggling in addiction. I wish that everybody could just be healed. I wish the whole world could live in light and love, because that's how we're meant to operate. But the world gets in the way of things, and so it is what it is. But I just want to encourage anybody listening to this, if you're struggling, man, just like reach out and keep pushing forward, man, because tomorrow is a new day. It's a clean slate, and it could be better. And if it's not, try again tomorrow, because any bad day when you're living your life right is better than your best day when you're on dope. It sounds cliche, but is 100% true from personal experience. And so I think I've ranted on long enough about this topic. So I appreciate anybody who's watched, and thanks for listening. Adios.